Our next presentation this evening will be our middle school update. So I'd like to invite up Travis McCarty and Miss Jamie Zecca. They also have special guests with them. So.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Travis McCarty. I have the privilege of being the principal of Putnam Valley Middle School. And I'm joined this evening by my fantastic assistant principal, Miss Jamie Zecca. So our 2024-2025 school year is off to a wonderful start. I can't say enough about the transition of our incoming fifth graders and our new students, as well as our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders on their return to school. As you can see based on the images, these are just a few of the many images that we have on our Google Slide webpage. All smiles, lots of activities planned thus far. And we'll talk a little bit more about the eventful opening that we've had. But our teachers up in the left-hand corner, 5th grader in the right, some of our 5th graders in the middle, and so on and so forth. So lots of smiles all around on our opening. So before we start with our opening, I just want to review a few things that happened last year, because it is important to reflect on all the events, the trips, and the ceremonies that occur throughout the middle school. And some of these are repeated year after year, but our student government elections from last year, our very successful middle school drama Anastasia, student staff Olympics and volleyball games, band and chorus concerts, 5th through 8th grade, our Halloween bash, spring fling. We brought back our art, music, technology, and talent show. Very successful evening, which was really highlighted by our student performers. And our PTA, can't thank them enough for our Minute to Win It event that took place last year. We're kind of been looking for something in between Color Wars and the event at the elementary school, and we kind of settled on the Minute to Win It, which had each grade level in our health and wellness center and in our middle school gymnasium competing in friendly events, and it was very successful. Just want to highlight our trips, because I do think philosophically having our kids engaged in activities that are outside our school premises is key. They're engaged, and we started off this year, and we started off last year with our TOEC event. A lot of people don't know a whole lot about TOEC, but it's in our back door, and it's part of Fawnstock Park, and Ms. Zecca will talk a little bit more about that. We had our trip to Lake Compounds in Washington, D.C. for our 8th grade, our 7th grade trip to Spins, our 8th grade Town Park and Medieval Times, 6th grade, and then our 5th grade trip to Bounce. I did want to highlight our music department, because I often feel we overlook what great things our musicians are doing within the building. There was the junior high all-county, 7th and 8th grade band and chorus students went to. Our elementary all-county, which is our 5th and 6th graders in both band and chorus. And our NISMUS solo event, which was band and chorus students in grades 5 through 8. And of course, our two really big ceremonies throughout our school years, our National Junior Honor Society in the spring, and our Moving Up ceremony at the end of the school year. Don't call it a graduation, it's just a moving up, because they're going to high school. And a few pictures. So let's talk a little bit about our assessments in comparing the differences between the 2024 school year and this school year. So there were a few changes last year in that our 5th and 8th graders moved to computer-based testing. And we saw actually some pretty good success in that transition. It's really nice being a one-to-one laptop program, and it's really nice that our kids have access to the practice assessments, which were online. And by the way, our 5th and 8th grade science assessments were the first of the next generation science standards, which were assessed last spring. And we also had 4 investigations, which are labs, that our 5th graders completed last year and our 8th graders completed last year. So this school year, we're looking forward to our entire building going to computer-based assessments. So all students in grades 5 through 8 will transition to everything on their laptops. And we are moving our investigations. We're rolling them out a little bit differently because those are shared assessments. Actually, our 5th grade science test is an assessment that measures 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. So even though that 5th grade assessment is given in 5th grade, it assesses what our 3rd graders learned, what our 4th graders learned, and our 5th graders learned. And those labs are shared across those 3 years. Now you know. Our 8th grade science assessment is very similar. So they're assessed from what they learned in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science. And those labs are shared amongst our grade levels, 1 in 6th grade, 1 in 7th, and 2 in 8th. And of course, I can't thank our science teachers enough for this transition, because not only are they adapting to the new science standards, but now having these investigations on top of that and a brand new assessment. We've already looked at our results internally, and we're very excited for the results, which we can't share yet, but we will share in the spring. So thank you to those science teachers and our teachers all around for their dedication to our students. So just like Dr. Podesta did in sharing a little bit of what the elementary school did, these are the results that we have from not this year's assessment, but the prior year's assessment. This is something called Tollmeter that we use, Schoolmeter, that we use, and it compares how we do to New York State. So in order to read this, if you look at the 2023 school year and you go upwards of that, you will see that the darker the color, the better we are across New York, in comparing across New York State. So if you look here, we were a 2 in the state. So if you're 1, you're the best. The higher the number, the worse off you are. And this measures our 3s and our 4s, the kids that are proficient. So 2023 school year, our 5th graders were 2, 6th graders were 2, 7th graders were 2, and 8th grade was 1. And you can follow these cohorts diagonally. This is what I like to see. This was our COVID year when no one was tested. So if you follow these kids all the way through, like this 5th grade, they were a 5 coming in, then they jumped to a 2, COVID year, finished at a 4. So here, if you look, those 6th graders, in 5th grade they were a 2, then they continued as a 2, 5th grade a 4, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 3, and a 1. So that's diagonal, and by the way, these are our ELA scores. And then over here we see our math scores. So in 2023, our 5th graders were a 2, 6th graders a 1, 7th graders a 3, and 8th graders a 3. And we have data meetings every 3 weeks. We review our New York State assessment results. We use our iReady results. So it's really data-informed instruction. And I can just share with the public as well, we have adopted and integrated Eureka Math up into our 7th and 8th grades starting this year. We've seen a lot of success in our earlier years in the middle school, and we're now adapting it, and our math teachers are doing a tremendous job kind of navigating what we're providing for them. And it's a lot of work integrating a new program, and they're doing wonderful, wonderful work with that.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was just wondering, there's a really incredible difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, especially for ELA. Is there something that you can attribute to the success of the students, something that you implemented that caused the increase?
Sure. I think that our ELA teachers, in 5th grade, we started to integrate guided reading, which has been really nice. And that's kind of growing from the elementary school and what they do with their guided reading instruction. And really just looking at the data and our kids, just their investment in the middle school. I mean, COVID was a really challenging time, right?
But it's even before that. I mean, like before the COVID year.
19.
Yeah, 18 and 19. And now it's incredible. I mean, you've made such an improvement.
I think one of the things that's driving this, and not to take anything away from our tremendous teachers, is the opt-out numbers. And as we go back pre-COVID, we had in some cases 50, 60% of our students opt out and not take the exam. And that drastically skewed the performance numbers. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen a steady decline in the number of students opting out, which is an increase in the number of students completing the assessment. So it gives us a much more realistic view of how our students are performing. Right? Obviously, a teacher wants all of their kids to take the test to get a sense as to how they did versus only half of their class, and they have no control who that half of the class is. So I think as those numbers hopefully continue to decline, we're getting a much more realistic look at how our students are performing and sense how well our teachers are doing instructing them.
Yeah, and our teachers do a really nice job of reviewing the data to inform their instruction. So it's like anything. As we continue to grow, we continue to work at areas of growth, and we celebrate our successes, and we continue to highlight those successes. So, yeah, we've had great.
Thank you.
Travis, what do the science investigations do for students who, like, didn't take it in 7th grade or weren't here in 7th grade or came, like, if they have to have 4 of them by the time they get to 8th grade and they've missed one? Do they have to pick it up somehow?
They do. We are tasked with giving those investigations. If they transfer from another district and they hadn't taken it, we get that with their transcripts, and we have to provide them time to make up those investigations prior to taking the assessment.
I'll be curious to see how that works out. It just seems like an almost impossible task to be doing the investigations on top of the curriculum, and then to have to pull kids out to make up investigations that they missed, because it's not just like, I assume, it's not just like one lesson. It's more involved than that.
Yeah, it takes time. Labs take time. And I have to tell you, it is a challenging task. But the nice part about these labs, if you were ever an earth science teacher or a living environment teacher, those labs that they integrate in and year out, these labs are similar in a way. So it is good to reflect on the process, but it does take time. And those kids that didn't get the opportunity to take that, we are actually offering like release time so that they can take care of it, so that that teacher doesn't have to leave their class to make up, a handful of students. We provide that time separately so that, they have a bit of curriculum to teach prior to these assessments.
Right.
It is a tall task for sure.
While we're asking questions, I have
Great
one.
question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The computer-based testing, is that available only in English or English and Spanish, or what languages?
Yeah.
So what we've been doing for our ENL population specifically is, depending on where they are and what level of ENL they are, they can take the exam on paper in their own language. There are some languages that are not available. In that case, we can have a translator come in and actually manually read the book. And then there are some ENL students who are immersed in English, can take the test here, but might need the Spanish guide or another language guide for them. So they can read it in their own language, but then take the assessment in English online. Again, it depends on what level of ENL we're speaking about.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So as much as we like to say that it's totally computer-based, I don't think it'll ever be totally computer-based because of certain accommodations and languages,
Which I'm
of
happy to
course.
see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so our successful opening, I will turn it over to Ms. Zecca at this point.
So we had some great highlights for this opening. It was probably the smoothest opening of our school since I've been here, partly because I'm definitely more comfortable and confident in my position. But the staggered start works for our students. Our 5th and 6th grade teachers have our 5th and 6th grade students on that first day. And when we have new students to the district who are 7th and 8th graders, they're able to come kind of open their lockers and get acclimated to the layout of our building. Our 7th and 8th grade students come in the second day, and that's when we kind of get the full house of everyone. It does take the 6th graders a little bit longer time to manipulate their lockers, and we have a lot of staff outside to help them, and that takes some time. Sometimes this year it took about 2 weeks for everyone to say, okay, like I'm comfortable and I'm confident moving on with my locker. On the first day of school, we were able to have our 5th grade new parent orientation. Mr. McCarty and I spent some time with the parents, answering questions, giving some of the feedback, or taking feedback from parents on just some kinds of things they might want to change. We take feedback very seriously, so if parents do have suggestions or feedback for us, please let us know. We're all growing in our areas of where we are. So just like students, we need feedback as well. 5th grade parents kind of got a little gist of what our building is like. They wound up leaving confident and comfortable that their students are in the right place. The following Friday, we wound up having a community meeting, and that's a way to touch base with our whole school. The community meeting is a place where we literally talk to our kids about expectations, about opportunities, and we really do want to focus on our opportunities for our students. We have a lot of opportunities in the middle school. I know sometimes middle school gets a bad name, but middle school is the real place where we're doing a lot of growing, and we want to provide our students with new opportunities. Partly that is sports for our athletes, and partly that is book fairs. We want every student reading. We have plenty of clubs, and they've started. We'll wind up offering a couple of additional clubs in the next coming weeks. One of the things that I'm really proud of that our school has participated in now for the past 2 years is our TOEC trip. Last year it was based out of a suggestion on building steering committee, and we took it and we ran with it, and we had a teacher apply for a grant, and all of our kids were able to go to the trip, all expenses paid, including lunch, and they had an amazing time. And that was something that we wanted to continue this year, and the parents on Building Steering felt that it was a nice opportunity for our students in the beginning of the year to truly bond outside of our building. So today was the last trip. Our 7th graders ended it, and from all the feedback that we've been getting from students, they're having an amazing time. It's something that they enjoy. It's time out of the building when they're with their friends and experiencing something different. Back to school night was actually based on the past 2 years' feedback from parents. Our 7th and 8th grade parents felt that they wanted to walk the building, go into those classrooms, get to know the teachers, and get to see the classrooms that their kids are sitting in. And it was a nice opportunity for them to also kind of get to know each other and look at, hey, this person's in my class. Okay, this person's a support person. They were able to meet our new guidance counselor during that time. They were able to see who some of the opportunities we're offering with regard to classes or point people. Every kid really needs to have a trusted adult in our building, and those opportunities are happening. We've already had, believe it or not, our first Washington, D.C. parent info meeting. We have lots of kids signed up for Washington, D.C., and we're going to continue to ask kids, would you like to go? Again, it's an opportunity for friendships. It's an opportunity for learning. It's an opportunity to really go out of state with your friends and explore our nation's capital. All of the feedback that we've gotten from students prior to this year is it's a memorable opportunity for them. It's a memorable experience. It's one that they take with them. Sure.
Just want to chime in on two things real quick. Washington, D.C., we have 69 students signed up right now. That means we have around 40 that aren't attending. We have sent out a number of communications. If there's any need of financial assistance or anyone wants to just come in and talk with administration, we would be happy to. Our goal is every single 8th grader attending this trip. Mrs. McCormick is our class advisor for this trip this year, and we're really looking forward to it. So about 40 more students come on board. We want to bring you to Washington, D.C. Second thing, 5th grade new parent orientation. Dr. Luft and I, as well as Ms. Zecca, have talked a little bit more. We've received your feedback about opening day, morning. I have children in the elementary school that I need to get on the school bus. So we've talked about possibly doing an evening kind of listening hour thing. Come ask us questions. We can review the parent orientation a little bit. So we might do like an evening piece and a morning piece to try to accommodate everyone. Because I know that in the summertime, you all are very busy on your vacations. So maybe we'll do it just prior, maybe the week prior to the opening of school to try to get everyone involved in that. Just wanted to mention those two things.
Thank you.
So here are some pictures from TOEC. This is what our kids do. This year they were themed. Our teachers last year actually picked themes for our students. So each grade level had a different theme. They were engaged in activities, mapping, environmentalism, sustainability, survival skills, and also team building. So our 5th graders were probably going to stay with our team building and kind of cooperative learning theme, but our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade were more curriculum-based themes. And here's who we're all for, our students. So we are so proud of our student government. We had our elections, and for 5th grade, we have Ryan, Isabella, and Jaden's in the audience for our 5th grade representatives. In our 6th grade, our representatives are Adam and William. 7th grade senators are Leah and Brendan, and our 8th grade co-presidents are Liam and Trevor. So the reason why we have student council is literally for having voice in our school. We want our kids to advocate for themselves. We want our kids to come to us with feedback. We want our kids to grow as leaders. So student government's the perfect place for that to happen. So there are some activities that student council actually hosts. The first one was the election. Our students worked really hard behind the scenes. We had a lot of kids coming to student council meetings, and even when they didn't win representation, they still are attending, they still are a voice. They are going to host the Halloween Bash that's happening in a couple of weeks, and that's always a fun one. Up next Friday, so get your dancing shoes. They're going to also host a food and clothing drive, as well as our Spring Fling in April. They're going to host a talent, art, music, and tech show, monthly dress themes, and they're meeting every month. So they really do come to school early in the morning, before most of the other students, and they're taking this on as a responsibility to be the voice of their peers. So I applaud each and every one of them. Back to Mr. McCarty.
Jamie, before you,
Sure.
the student council,
Yes.
is there a way that we could see a report from them, or, I mean, sometimes our students aren't here, our high school students are not here, but they don't always check in with the middle school. But if the middle school would like us to know what they're doing,
Sure.
we'd love to hear from them if they have minutes, or, just because I think you're right, they're contributing a lot to their school, and I'd like to celebrate that.
That'd be awesome, and I can definitely talk to, hint, 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 one of the people who runs student council in the audience. But I'll make sure that I meet with our advisors, Mrs. Dreesen and Mrs. Nadal, so that we can come up with the plan for that.
They could pass it along to the high school reps
Sure.
to do it, or they can pass it along to us and we could share it. So-
Okay, awesome, that sounds like a
But
plan.
we'd love to hear what they're doing.
Or
Absolutely.
they could come present. if
Or they
wanted
could
to.
come.
Well, okay.
We'd be welcome.
if they wanna join us
We'd love
again.
to have them come and tell
Well,
us what
one
they're
thing I just want to highlight that they did, and it kind of came out of in a spontaneous way, is their hurricane relief funds. So the students wound up talking and saying, hey, listen, like, we know that our country is being impacted by these hurricanes. We know that people have been devastated. What can we do? That's the kind of voice that we want. Those are the kinds of leaders that we want our kids to grow into. So they're collecting money. There's a coin drop in our cafeteria. We have 1 jug for Hurricane Helene victims, and we have 1 jar for Hurricane Milton. So our students are completely involved and thinking on a larger context outside of our community, which is amazing.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And by the way, when I was in the lunch group today in 8th grade, one of our math teachers was walking around giving coupons, and they were matching the donation. So a student that was putting in $1, the teachers were matching that donation, which I thought was really cool and innovative. So kudos to the teachers also who are encouraging donations and joining in to that relief. And that money goes to the Red Cross. So thank you to the Student Council for that. So some continued opportunities throughout the middle school, and I'll start with number 1, and I know this has come up yearly with parent and teacher conferences, and Dr. Luft and I, as well as our teachers, have talked year in and year out about what these look like. I know in the elementary school, parent-teacher conferences are in the evening, and then I think some are scheduled during the day, but I think a lot of our families coming over, knowing that we're going to a different model, it doesn't look the same. But I brought this conversation up to our building steering committee yesterday to see if they'd like to tackle this and discuss it a little bit further. But what I try to advertise to families year in and year out is our teams have a team time daily. So our 5th grade teachers meet with each other at the same time. Our 6th meet with each other at the same time. Our 7th and 8th, depending on if they're between a couple or more grade levels, they're every other day, but some teachers are every day. So if families would like to schedule meetings to talk to teachers, we have that in our day. And I just asked them to reach out to the teacher directly or the team leader, and we can set those up. And what's nice is they try to do about 20-minute meetings. They have a 40-minute block in their day. So if we split that up with 2 sessions, that would be great. And again, it's something that I kind of put out to building steering to see if we could get more feedback on, because it is a little bit different in middle school. The fact that the kids don't just have 1 teacher anymore. They have 2 main core teachers in their 5th and 6th grade, amongst other teachers. And then in 7th grade, every period of the day they have a teacher. So 7 periods, maybe 6 periods out of the day, they have a variety of teachers. So I encourage families to reach out to the teachers, even if it's just to say who your child is and to hear about how your child has started their year. We're about 7 weeks in. Someone told me recently that the end of Q1 is November 8th. So October is upon us. We're almost halfway through, and it's moving quickly already. So November 8th. So if you haven't scheduled one yet and you'd like to, please reach out to those team leaders. We'd love to see you in the building. And the teachers would love to talk about your children, trust me. Dress themes. Thank you to our student council. Our Wednesday dress themes and our Friday spirit days are in full effect. In fact, yesterday was Orange Day for Unity. And I know next week starts Red Ribbon Week. And there's actually a dress theme for every day for about 8 days for Red Ribbon Week. So middle school kids especially love to dress up. And I can't tell you enough, Halloween is coming up. So we always encourage our kids to dress up on Halloween. No props allowed. And you've got to, censor what's being brought into the school. But middle school kids love Halloween. They love to dress up. We love to celebrate them. We don't have the parade like the elementary school, but it's that transition to middle school to then high school. Listen, I have a 9th grader. He dresses up in a baseball uniform every year. He still likes candy. So I know we all still like to dress up to an extent to get our candy. So again, middle schoolers, we're excited to see what Halloween looks like. And our Halloween bash, which is next Friday from 5 to 7, $10. Tickets are being sold every morning starting tomorrow. Student of the Month breakfast. Our first Student of the Month breakfast is tomorrow morning. Thank you to the PTA who's coming out to help sponsor our Student of the Month breakfast. Nominations are based on our 10 learner profile attributes, amongst other qualities. So we're very lucky to continue to nominate our students and recognize them for all the good that they do. And thank you for the PTA for donating money to help with the breakfast. And it's always nice to see the families in our building, because that's what matters. It takes a village. We often forget, sometimes we forget when they come to middle school, they're not elementary anymore, but they are. So stay involved, please. Come to those breakfasts, enjoy breakfast with your children, because not many families get to have breakfast with their children. So this is an opportunity for sure. Clubs, as Ms. Zecca said, they're well underway. Lots of clubs being offered before and after school. And sports, I know Mr. Webb was up here. I have to tell you, my daughter is on the girls' volleyball team. I never watched volleyball growing up, and this team is unbelievable to watch. I know that I've heard in the past that they've been undefeated and whatnot. I don't want to jinx them, but their talent, there was like 46 girls who came out for that team. And the job that Miss Anderson is doing with the girls is tremendous amongst all of our modified teams. So we encourage our students to get started now because there is such a variety offered for students of all ability levels. Please keep that in mind. All right, enrollment. I will be really quick. Our enrollment is up 11. We're at 450 and growing, by the way. I am really rooting for the 6th grade. My goal is to get them up to 100 by the time they leave middle school. They were at like 84 just last year, 83. Look at that. We're already up 6. So if we go up 6 every year, we will make it to 100. I'm rooting for that 6th grade to get up to 100 by the time they leave middle school. Our other grade levels are very healthy. Our 5th grade is the largest in our building. We have embraced them. They are so excited to be in the middle school. They will tell us everything about their lives every day. I love it. I'm like a rock star when I enter into the dining hall. I tell you, they all pull me aside, tell me about what's going on in their life, and they're super excited to be at the middle school, and we're embracing them. It's been a great start. So up 11, we're at 450. And there's a large group coming over from the elementary school that's currently in 4th grade. So the reason why we have a lot of faculty and students here this evening is we have some new course offerings at our middle school, as well as the beautiful new student support suite. And I do want to reach out to our board to invite them in to see our student support suite, as well as our therapy dog, Murphy, and Miss Malagero. So we do have research in grades 5 through 8 that is new this year with Miss Hochberg. She's doing a tremendous job. She gets to see the entire building after the end of the whole school year. We have social emotional learning with Miss Ortiz and Miss Malagero. And we have language acquisition, or Spanish 6. So we're starting that foreign language in an earlier grade, and you'll hear more from those teachers in a minute. So at this time, I'd like to invite up Miss Malagero, who's going to speak to you a little bit about social emotional learning. And on behalf of Miss Ortiz and Miss Malagero, I want to thank them for all the hard work that they've put in to start the school year.
Good evening, everyone. So I'll talk a little bit about the SEL class that's new this year. I know in previous years there was SEL, there was push-ins to academic study. I always tell the students, and I told the parents at the parent orientation, it's about planting a seed, right? There's a lot of information that's going to come out to the students, some that might click with them, some that might resonate, some they were like, why are we learning about this at this moment? But in the beginning of the year and in the beginning of every encore, we always start with community building. So learning who's in our classes, the differences, the backgrounds, doing some fun STEM projects. A lot of the 5th graders loved, we did a Saving Sam project where there's a little gummy worm. They had to figure out and work together as a team how to rescue him. We go over time management and organizational skills. And I like to talk to the kids about, what's relevant to you. So tell me about your schedule. What does it look like when you wake up in the morning? What does it look like after school? And how can we fix it if it's, if there's a lot going on, or do you have a routine? Some kids say, I don't, it's something different every day, or some say, oh, my parents have me on a very strict routine. And we talk about balance and what that looks like, right? Academics are important, sports and hobbies are important, but it's all about that balance that we have in life and how it relates to outside of school. We talk about empathy and communication. Recently, this month, we've been talking, Ms. Ortiz and I, about bullying prevention. Our 5th and 6th grade students got to do posters. They were hanging them up. There was also some other activities all the grade levels got to do in the cafeteria. This last week of Encores has been about college and career preparation. So we've been talking about how you could have multiple careers over your lifetime. And I encourage the students to ask the people in your life what they do, how they got there, their road there. And a lot of their teachers might have had careers before or after, or things they do on the side. And how our passions and our careers are not limited to one thing. So we all might end up in different places in life, and our journey is going to be different. For them, they're like, I can't even imagine what I'm going to be doing, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I said, but it's important that we start that conversation. And it just starts with what are our hobbies, what are our interests. So myself, I'm teaching 5th and 7th grade SEL, and Ms. Ortiz is doing 6th and 8th. We'll get to move up with our students every year, which is a great thing. We build relationships, we get to know them. For the older grades, we have them for a bit longer, which is nice, but we see them less in the cycle. And some pictures here are showing the kids doing the Saving Sam project, creating the posters. That's a picture of Murphy and myself. And it's just been a really nice way to connect with students. Sometimes it can be isolating. As a counselor, you might only work with kids that are on your caseload, but these classes give us the opportunity to work with all students, touch base with them. They get to know who we are, where we are, and just to be a supportive adult in the building to help them. Thank you.
Sounds great.
By the way, I'd like to thank the board again and Dr. Luft for the opportunity of having 2 school counselors. I can't tell you how tremendous this is for all of our students. And I'm going to invite up a few students who had an assignment in their SEL class. I know Liam could not be here this evening. It's that time of year where sickness is starting to come around our buildings, which is understandable. So he couldn't be here this evening, but I am going to read a little bit about what he wrote. Something he learned about himself in the middle school is when he's determined to do something, he always has to finish it right, and he doesn't stop until then. And if you know Liam Cron, this could not be any truer. I guarantee Liam Cron will be up there someday as a representative for his class. He is very vocal, very deep thinker. One challenge that he's faced in middle school is trying to not get distracted by others in class, so focusing. Something new that he learned in Research Lab this year is there are thousands of things and perspectives to look at on one topic. One way he handles stress or challenges, he does something he enjoys. He distracts himself in a way. And if he could give advice to any new middle school student, he would say 6th and 7th grade are the roughest of middle school grades. During those grades, everybody finds their cliques and groups to hang out with. I've personally struggled because of this, and Chromebooks are awful. All students have struggled with Chromebooks. I could tell you that right now.
Chromebooks.
He's got stock in Apple.
I wish he was here to explain that further. But yes, I would add phones to that as well.
Yeah.
At this time, I would like to invite up Lindy Kluger-Glickman. Come on up, Lindy.
Hi there. As you know, my name is Lyndon Kluger-Glickman. I'm in 8th grade, and something I've learned about myself in middle school is that I can handle more responsibilities by juggling school, homework, extracurricular activities, and my home life. One struggle I faced in middle school has been learning to prioritize my daily responsibilities. It is challenging to force myself to do the things that I have to do before the things I want to do. Something new that I learned in SEL are strategies to help organize my everyday life. you might start noticing a theme across these questions. One way I handle stress or challenges is by allowing myself to take a break and do something that calms me down, like reading. I usually set a timer so that I don't get lost in my book, and when it goes off, I am almost always ready to go back to the challenge. One of the things that I like most about middle school is the amount of freedom that you're given. However, with that greater freedom comes a greater responsibility. My best advice for new students is to develop their own strategies to balance their want-tos with their have-tos so that they can have a successful middle school experience.
Very good. I like to point out as adults, we still struggle with prioritizing the things we have to do compared to the things we want to do. That might not go away.
By the way, I'm envious of Lindy because she has probably read more books in her lifetime than I have. She is our student who walks the hallways reading a book, and she's really so worldly as a result of that. So if you ever want to read a good book, please consult Lindy. Very widely read. Next up, we have Gage Morales.
Hello, my name is Gage Morales. I'm in 8th grade, and something I've learned about myself this year in middle school is just be yourself. For example, try new styles of clothing or try making some new friends. Don't fit in with other people you're not meant to fit in because it would just make you someone you're not. And then one challenge I've faced in middle school is trying to manage sports, social life, and academic performance. Something new that I've learned in SEL is time management and also how to control feelings. One way of handling stress or challenges is take a break or go on a walk. I have some snacks, watch YouTube, just something to get my mind off whatever I'm stressed about. If I could give advice to a new middle school student, I would say just try your best. Even though middle school might not make or break your life, just try and try and try. Even though you might fail and keep failing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gage.
Thank you, Gage. I have to commend you on the leadership in which I've seen you grow through middle school, and very proud of you coming up and having the courage to share that. Thank you, Gage. Next up, we have Kaya Phillip. Come on up, Kaya.
As you know, my name is Kaya Phillip. I'm in 8th grade, and something I've learned about myself in middle school is that I'm kind and funny. One challenge that I faced in middle school is taking the state test. It is challenging because some of the math state questions are harder than others. Something new that I learned in SEL this year is to prioritize my time better by setting timers and making sure I'm doing/finishing my homework by checking PowerSchool with Ms. Ortiz. One way I handle my stress is try to calm myself down and say to myself, I will be fine. If I could give advice to a new middle school student, I would say to make sure you pay attention in class and try your best to get good grades. Also study for tests.
So when we asked Kaya to come present this evening, her first question was, why me? Now you know why we asked her to present this evening. Just a ray of sunshine, always smiling, always telling you how it is, and great advice. And lastly, we have Trevor Specht.
Hello, my name is Trevor Specht, and I'm in 8th grade. Something I've learned about myself in middle school is I'm very balanced. I'm the theater kid that plays a sport for every season, in addition to getting solos in chorus and playing the guitar in my free time. One challenge I faced in middle school is staying on the high honor roll, along with balancing all the other stuff I do. Something I learned new in SEL or research lab is how to manage my time to make sure I get schoolwork done before I worry about extracurricular activities. One way I handle stress is tackle the problem right away. Don't hesitate. Face the challenge head on. If I could give advice to a new middle school student, I would say join lots of clubs and get to know peers and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. And Trevor, talk about balancing. I also know he is a Boy Scout, and I also know that he is our 8th grade co-president with Liam. So thank you so much, Trevor. I have to say, it's really nice to hear from our student body because you all aren't in middle school every day like I am. So I get to smile, I get to see them come through the hallways, I get to have these conversations with them. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big Yankees fan. So when I sit down and I talk to them about baseball or their football game over the weekend or, you know, how they're doing academically, and I sit down and I form these relationships, these are young adults. And they come over to the high school and they come over to us from the elementary school, and we forget that they traveled through this very changing time in their life. And they are so successful. And I just wanted to recognize a few of them for all that hard work. There's many more in our middle school, 450, who go through this journey together. And I have to also thank Miss Ortiz, who couldn't be here for this evening. She did put together these slides. She did come up with these questions for them. And she is our school counselor for grades 6 and 8. And thank you to Christina for her work with our 5th and 7th graders.
Travis, I want to mention the fact that the new suite for the SEL, that is absolutely gorgeous. On your open house, I was there and I walked through it, and I had a nice tour of the place. I think back, when I was a counselor back in the middle school years ago, we had a closet, literally, a stupid closet, like the size of a bathroom. It was ridiculous, and that was it. To see us progress to such an extent to have a suite where the kids, you know, there's safety there, there's comfort there, and there's a sense of confidentiality. You know, people would walk by my little office on the first floor, and everybody would know who I was seeing at the time, and that did not bode well in many, many instances. So I thank you, and I thank your support staff for putting that together. It's outstanding. It really is.
And I'd like to add, I as a board member, but I know I speak for the rest of the board, I can't tell you how important it is to hear from students and to hear in their own words how they're doing, what they're thinking. Their advice really, like, I'd like to give it to everybody. I'd like to stop watching the news on TV and just listen to kids, because you're making so much more sense.
Yeah.
But we really do appreciate you coming, students and parents, for bringing you. And we, love hearing from you. So thank you very much.
I agree, definitely. Those are what you all mentioned, are life lessons, and it's great that you've learned them at this young age, that you can carry it through your life, and very proud of all of you. So thank you, and as well as the parents, for bringing the students tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Miss Justine Trainer, who is in charge of our language acquisition in year 1 of IB. Justine?
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Justine Trainer, and I'm very excited to speak to you all about the new 6th grade Spanish course. Just a little bit about myself before I go into that. I've been teaching Spanish for about 8 years now. I've taught everything from 6th grade to 12th grade, but this year I get to teach the 6th grade Spanish, and I do have my FLES certification, which is really helpful. It's a certification that is specific for teaching younger students a new language. So it's really exciting that we have this new program. Teaching here has really been a great experience, and I'm excited to be working with your children this year in our new language program. In the 6th grade course, I have the entire 6th grade divided into 3 sections, and I see them on a 3-day rotation. It's a large group, but it's a dynamic one, and it's a really, really fun class that I get to teach every day. The course is designed to introduce the students to the Spanish language and culture in a way that is engaging and accessible, setting them up for continued success in 7th and 8th grade. The teaching methods that we use are comprehension-based and proficiency-oriented. We focus on language acquisition rather than language learning, which means that we're not just focusing on memorizing vocabulary and grammar, but learning and acquiring a new language through storytelling and meaningful repetition. In 6th grade, we use a curriculum called Vamos, and in 7th and 8th grade, we build on that foundation with the Somos curriculum. Both were written by the same author, and they use the same method for acquiring a new language. Their core method for acquiring the new language is through storytelling. This consistent approach allows students to progress smoothly through our program, gaining confidence and proficiency year after year. So a little bit more about the Vamos curriculum. This curriculum is designed specifically for exploratory Spanish courses like ours, and it has 3 main objectives. The first objective is the development of linguistic proficiency. The second is exposure to the products, practices, and perspectives of various Spanish-speaking communities. And third is fostering a genuine interest in continuing language study. So while we're focusing on language skills, we're also exploring different cultures and traditions in a way that sparks curiosity and a deeper understanding. What makes our program unique is that we've integrated the Vamos curriculum with the new middle years program, or MYP, that we recently started in PVMS. This means that while your students are learning Spanish, they're also developing critical thinking and global awareness skills. For example, we explore topics like Mexico's rich history with chocolate or Peru's incredible biodiversity. We're not just learning about the language, but also about the world in which that language exists. This aligns perfectly with MYP's emphasis on intercultural understanding, allowing us to meet language acquisition objectives while encouraging students to think beyond their own experiences. I'm really looking forward to guiding our students through this exciting year of language discovery and being able to work with them throughout their middle school years in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So yeah, that's a little bit about the new program. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
This program is so important. It's something I've advocated for since coming on the board. We now have Spanish at an introductory level at the elementary school, and it continues right through 6th grade. I love it. It's so important. This is the second dominant language in our country, and our kids need to understand it, understand the culture. So I applaud the school for instituting this, especially at the 6th grade level. That's outstanding.
Thank you. And by the way, I was going to have Miss Trainer do her presentation in Spanish, but she teaches all of her classes 90% Spanish. I was in there the other day, and they were doing a whole story on a tarantula. And I was lucky enough to follow along because she does such a nice job with her students. And I'm not kidding you, it is 90% Spanish all the time. So they're immersed constantly, and I really enjoy my time in that class because it's the Vamos now in 6th grade and the Somos in 7th and 8th grade. And both Miss Trainer and Miss Belfont, they are on the same page all the time. Literally, they plan so well together, and our students are so lucky to have them.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to provide an IB Middle Years Program update. I know Mr. Kala couldn't be with us here with us this evening, but Miss Mary Kay Cohen is. So come on up, Mary Kay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mary.
These are tough acts to follow between the children and Ms. Trainer. I'm a teacher at the Putnam Valley Middle School as well as the MYP IB coordinator. And and I'm here to just give you a little update on what we've done in the past, last year, and this year, moving forward. It's a really exciting year because right now we are a candidate school for the IB MYP program, and we're hoping to become an authorized school by the end of this school year. So looking back, in September of last year, we actually did a presentation opening of schools around the same time. We started strong at our superintendent's conference day, brainstorming with the teachers of how we can rebrand our school and become immersed in the IB world. And we did that, and if you come and visit the middle school ever, and the students know, we have street signs all over our hallways that have the learning profile attributes that you've heard the children actually talk about. Being balanced, that's one of the learning profile attributes. And caring, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, all of those words are around our school now, hanging up on street signs that were designed for that purpose. And moving forward, we started to provide training to our staff and teachers about how to teach in the MYP, and they have a very complex unit planner where you try to incorporate lots of different things, where you're trying to basically not teach kids what to think, but how to think. And so you have to incorporate key concepts, related concepts, looking at education with a global view. So we have these global contexts, and the teachers had to learn how to write these units. So we provided training after school during our team meetings that Travis mentioned. We meet weekly, and they collaborated together. And by December, all of the 6th through 8th grade teachers completed their first MYP units, and in their subject areas. And there's 8 core subject areas. And one thing I want to talk about is the distinction between the middle years program and our high school having the DP, or the diploma program. The middle years program includes all students and all staff. Everybody in the school is immersed in this framework of learning. So it's not that some misconceptions are people think that only some students will be involved in the middle years program, but everybody is going to be involved in some way, shape, or form in every single class. In fact, the SEL and research lab that you're hearing about is part of the MYP framework. The approaches to learning, the things that children were talking about tonight. So in addition, in December, the 5th grade teachers used literature. They worked with our library media specialist and found storybooks to read to the 5th graders. So each month, that was the pictures up there. This month, they read a story, Empty My Pot, and it was teaching the children about the word principled, which is a kind of a higher level word for 5th graders. And then they related to being principled, and they wrote some things on their flower pot up there about being principled. Why is it important to become principled, or to be principled? So that was just one example that they did in the past month. And this month, they started to read a book about being good communicators. And so each month, the 5th grade teachers are introducing the students to the learner profile attributes, and so that they're prepared to learn in that way in grades 6 through 8. And so we were working on training and professional development, and as the year progressed, we also had to write these IB policies that are required for authorization. And they involve language policies, which actually Justine and Maria and Angela Matons worked with Stephanie and I on, and we created our own language policy. We worked with Natalie Doherty and the administration on our inclusion policy about our special education practices. And there's these policies are also, I'm going to show you on our website so you can learn more about them. Those are just 2 examples. There's an assessment policy as well, where we worked with the teachers and talked about how we assess our students and how that's going to change with more student-centered activities and projects and presentations. We're going to move towards using rubrics again to really, and have kids self-reflect and grade themselves using these rubrics, which is a change from just being tested. So that's kind of exciting. In March, we actually had a visit from our consultant, and she gave us a full report on how we're doing as moving towards authorization, and we had a lot of positive feedback. and she had great things to say about things she saw at our middle school. So that was very encouraging, and we were reflective about that report. We shared that with the teachers, and we've made some updates to things that we need to continue to work on. We ended our last PD in June. We told the teachers to think about, as we look forward to IB in the 2024-2025 year, what are some wins, wants, will-dos, wonderings, and worries. It's called the W protocol. And the teachers shared different feelings that they had about teaching in the IB and where they were looking forward to moving in the next school year. And these are just some of the highlights of some of the things that teachers talked about that they felt were wins for last year. And then the will-dos are things that we're moving towards and continuing to work on this year. So you can see the teachers felt accomplished by completing their MYP units, but they're also excited about what they're going to do this year, implementing them, and also continuing to write more units that encourage kids to think critically and understand how what they're learning connects to the real world and have that real global-minded thinking. We celebrated Student of the Month last year, and Mr. McCarty kind of already touched on that. Another win is that all the teachers, art teachers, music teachers, individuals and societies, which is what we call social studies now, language and literature teachers, math, science, we all have this common vocabulary that's being used so that kids will naturally start making connections between the different subject areas. There's something up there called subject group overviews. You can see that those were completed. That's another requirement for authorization. It's basically a big curriculum map that involves all of the pieces of the unit planner that IB requires. And what's great about that is it encourages collaboration between teachers and talking about what are the big questions, what do we want students to learn over the course of the year. So it's basically sort of an updated curriculum map, I would say, and it really fosters unbelievable discussions that the teachers have with each other and trying to make things exciting for kids. So just, moving on to this year, we started our superintendent's conference day asking the teachers to reflect on their learning profile traits that they exhibited over the summer to, again, get the year started with that vocabulary and how they're feeling. And we encourage them to ask the kids the same thing: which learning profile attributes did they connect with the best? And moving into October, we're continuing our professional development with teachers. I really wished I had the students make a video about MYP. That's my goal, to have next time we come, to have something where you can take a peek into our middle school using a video and having the kids really talk about how things look different and how their education is impacting them. So that's what I'm hoping for. We do have a website, which I wanted to just end with and show you that we added to the Putnam Valley Central School District website. If you click on the middle school, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a link to the Middle Years International Baccalaureate program. And can I actually click on that? Because I wanted to see if, will it open up? Okay. And that will, when you click on that little link, it will bring you to our IB MYP website, which is something we're working on being more open to the parent community about what IB is. So if anyone's interested, they can learn more about it by going to our website now. That's on the school website. This is a brochure that we made. I passed it out to all of the board members, but it's also in digital form on our website, just explaining to them what the IB MYP program is all about. And some of the tabs at the top talk more about the learner profile for parents that are confused about things that we may have said tonight that they don't understand, because there's a lot of new language in the IB, but and so it could be confusing. And when you first hear all of these different words, key and related concepts, global context, the statement of inquiry, all of these things are part of their unit planning. And so it's all there for people to read if they're interested. Next to, on the last tab, the additional information, is where you can find those policies that I've talked about. They're really not a board policy. They're just IB required policies that we're teaching, we're kind of using as our practice. This is our Putnam Valley's practices. They're not like a typical board approved policy. So I just wanted to make that distinction. But IB does require that the schools have these in place so that we can be authorized. There's also a frequently asked questions document there for parents to look at. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. You can always email myself or Stephanie, and we're happy to continue to support our teachers and our
I
students.
love your idea of doing a video and putting it on the website even, yeah, you know,
Yes.
so that parents can actually hear how the kids view the program, because it is new, totally new. And I'm sure, you know, the parents went through old school, you know.
Yes.
So it would be great to get a child perspective on that.
You just reminded me, we had a meeting yesterday with the building steering committee, and one of the parents had 6 students come through Putnam Valley, still in Putnam Valley, some graduated, and she's a parent representative on the building steering committee, and she shared how happy she was that Putnam Valley is moving forward with the IB programs. She said, I want parents to know how lucky we are that Putnam Valley is supporting this. She was almost going to come tonight, but she had a conflict. But we were just trying to ask them, like, from the parent perspective, like, what do you need from us to help you understand this program? And they mentioned about, like, just putting things out on social media.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to do things like that, like, did you know? And maybe some Instagram posts with little blurbs of, like, what the kids are doing or what's going on each month. So we're hoping to continue to give more information to the community about the program.
Good.
Well,
That's
as
good.
the world changes daily, second by second, sometimes it seems, I think we needed to adapt for our students, but that can't happen without a tremendous amount of work from the teachers and the administrators, because we cannot help our students without leadership. So we thank you and
Yeah,
Stephanie,
definitely.
Dr. Luff, Jackie, Natalie, Travis, and Jamie, and all of the teachers who are turning their world over. It's exciting, but it's a tremendous amount of work, and we recognize how hard you guys are working. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate that support from all of you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you,
I-
Mary Kay.
No, wait a minute.
I just wanted to say that I think it's really amazing that you're using the same vocabulary in all of the classes. I think it makes it a lot more easy for the students, the teachers, the parents to understand how each of the learner profiles is connected and how it's connected to each of the classes. And I didn't realize that was happening, and I think that's just really great.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would also like to recognize Mary Kay and Stephanie for the leadership role that they have taken with our teachers. Because it's one thing to teach students every day, it's another to be in front of your colleagues and to be able to work and teach with them through a process that we're all kind of learning together. And I just know that that's not easy. And they have taken on tremendous leadership values and skills through this process. And that's part of IB. It's being a risk taker. And it's the leadership skills that both Stephanie and Mary Kay have taken on and grown with. We administratively recognize and we reflect weekly, and we have these discussions with Jackie. And there's tremendous amount of communication between all of us as is needed. And our staff has grown tremendously. They continue to give us feedback. And I know that by the end of this year, they will have their units in place and on the ground and actually in the process with their students, because it's only when you implement them with your students can you truly reflect on that. All of you that have been teachers in the classroom, you know that the best laid plans on a lesson can sometimes not go so well because you didn't anticipate something, or it was a certain time of day, and then you reflect on that and you change it either for the next class or for the next year. And that's a big part of the IB process. And I just wanted to recognize and thank them for the tremendous amount of work that they've embarked upon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on the entire presentation? This is another picture. This was actually from TOEC yesterday. Look at how beautiful it was outside.
I just want to comment, the word that really stuck with me was the use of the word rebrand. And I think as a leadership team, when we started having conversations regarding the possibility of the middle years program in the middle school, our vision was exactly that, right? Finding a program that would allow us to rebrand our middle school and really unify very sort of 5th grade elementary grades to 8th grade, nearly high school grades, and what could bring all those grades together. And I think every example we saw here this evening, whether it be the student voice, students coming up and talking, whether it be SEL, whether it be the expansion of world languages, or the presentation regarding the middle years program, I think all of that speaks to that rebrand. And while it's nice, I get lots of thank yous and accolades for it, I deserve none of them. I couldn't be more proud, and I said this many times, of both our teacher leaders, and Mary Kay and Steph, our teachers that have really embraced this and done, I think Barbara was saying, it's a tremendous amount of work to rebrand a building, right? To rebrand what you're doing, your curriculum, your instruction, and the pedagogy behind it. That takes a tremendous amount of work, and our teachers have really done extraordinary things in a very short period of time to get us there. So I don't know why that one word stuck with me, but I think what we saw here this evening was really sort of a culmination of that rebranding and all the work that's happened there. Thanks to our teacher leaders, our building leaders, our district leaders. I know Jackie's been instrumental in helping roll this out in the middle school. So they really deserve a lion's share of the credit that happens along with our teachers and students. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And I would like to extend an invitation to the board to come take a tour with us. I'd love to have you in, love to have you meet Murphy, love to have you come in and see this in action in our classrooms. We can go through a tour, show you our new student support suite, show you IB in action, because it's one thing to video and record and show to the public. It's another thing to show our board, who then relays that information to our public as well. So I'd like to extend that invite to come in and really see it in action.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
yeah.
We'll be calling.
Would love that.
Nice job, thank you.
Okay, do you want to be the middle school board rep? Come to all the meetings?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank you.